Clive Barker Podcast Audio Commentaries.
Thanks to your generous donations to our Kickstarter funding campaign,
Clive Barker Podcast presents Fundraiser 9.
Celebrations! All right, well, welcome. This is episode 334 of the Clive Barker Podcast. We're back, and we're returning to the A to Z of horror commentaries with S's for Sorceress, talking about Shirley Jackson, and we got Ed and Nina and Jose, and I'm Ryan.
Yes, this is Ed Martinez, your blind podcaster, and Nina.
Hello.
Hey,
We're from San Francisco Bay Area.
And regular old Joe. It focuses a lot on The Haunting, a Robert Weiss film.
And that particular chapter is about Shirley Jackson, and I think her most famous story is The Lottery, which I think they make. I don't know if they still make kids read that in school. I know that they had me read that in like 6th grade or something like that.
We did it as a play. In high school.
Oh, in school?
Yeah, in high school.
It's actually, when you think about it, it's actually a pretty grim story for kids, but
well, when you're in high school, it's a little more.
Yeah, that's different.
And it was pretty easy to pull that one off because you could do it very stark on stage with just people.
Oh,
and, lighting and hardly any sets or anything.
So the movie that we're going to be doing is our commentary on is The Haunting, which originally I think in the Kickstarter I had put The Haunting of Hill House, which is the name of the book.
The novel.
Yeah, right? But the movie is just called The Haunting.
Right. Or the Netflix show The Haunting of Hill House, which came out a few years ago.
That was a great show, but not super similar. I mean, there were a lot of elements.
It's very adapted.
Yeah.
Also, they made a feature film, a remake in the 80s or 90s.
90s, yeah.
90s.
Oh,
I haven't seen that one.
It was not good.
It's not good, no.
Yeah. Unfortunately. I mean,
Liam Neeson.
The special effects and stuff, like Phil Tippett's company, did CGI, stuff for it. And it wasn't that great. It wasn't that memorable in comparison to the original, the one we're going to talk about today. Has nothing. It's basically just sound effects and music and dramatic acting and stuff. It doesn't have any monsters or creatures or anything.
Yes, of course. That was one of the things I thought about the Haunting 1999 film. It was way over the top, and
they had CGI lions, coming to life and stuff.
It was super baroque, and the house is like a crazy house that would never exist in real life. It was just amazing, like. They went over the top.
All the statues and stuff that were all over the place. Winding staircase, with things that came to life, statuary and stuff.
It sounds like they kind of missed the point of the...
Yeah, Liam Neeson was the doctor that's trying to study the dynamics of fear. And Catherine Zeta-Jones was in it as well. Yeah. She plays the more outgoing... Yeah.
She was the psychic one?
Theodora or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Then Owen Wilson was in it. Wow. And Lily Taylor.
Owen Wilson.
Oh, figures. Lily Taylor's in everything spooky.
Yeah. She was in a Belle Ferrara movies, and then she did this.
Yeah. So. Wow.
Well, she was also in 6 Feet Under, that TV series. Do you ever see that?
Yeah. I saw a bunch of episodes.
She was in that.
Has Dexter in it, right?
Yes.
Michael C. Hall, yeah. He plays the owner of a funeral home.
No, he legally changed his name to Dexter.
Okay. I was just listening to some YouTube videos of him singing for the Lazarus musical, and he sings really well, too.
Oh, wow. It's really? Like on The Simpsons where they're talking about some people write to movie stars. This guy writes to movies, and it's like, dear payback.
Isn't that a Sylvester Stallone one or something?
Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson.
Pretty good movie. I like Payback. It's good. But yeah, so we're watching The Haunting from 1963 and Robert Weiss movie, who's done other movies like The Andromeda Strain, The West Side Story.
Dave Ears Stood Still.
Oh, yeah, okay. And The Sound of Music, West Side Story, and Star Trek, The
Motionless Picture.
V'ger. The Motionless Picture. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's what a lot of fans call it.
Before we started recording, we were just talking about the Star Trek The Motion Picture. And the thing that always struck me about that is there's like 10 or 15 minutes of Captain Kirk floating around the dry docked Enterprise in a box.
Yeah,
yeah, shuttle.
Yeah.
I got to say this. It's funny. I'm looking at the list of movies on IMDb, and not only did he do The Haunting, which was based on The House on Haunted Hill, he did The Day the Earth Stood Still, and he did The House on Telegraph Hill. So,
and Notting Hill.
And Born to Kill. So there's a lot of. He made a lot of movies, enough that you can make these jokes. So.
Yeah, West Side Story, which I believe Russ Tamblin's in that too.
So for everybody out there following along with us, if you want to watch the movie, if you go to our show notes or go to the website where the show notes are, we've posted a link with dubious legality, but it's on archive.org. The movie is, and we've got a link there if you want to. You can use that to follow along with us, or if you don't have the movie.
So if you choose to sail the high seas, don't blame us.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's not like a torrent or anything. It's on a legitimate website, but the legality of it is in question.
Questionable, right?
Yeah.
It might be a public domain. It's such an old film.
I was wondering
it's
that. So it's over 50 years old.
Right.
But MGM, they hold on to that stuff.
Yeah, and speaking of MGM,
might be why they remade it and why the series and stuff was
yeah.
Speaking of MGM, we are paused on the MGM Lion. On mine, he's just starting to roar. That's like 3 seconds, I guess.
Meow.
Leo the Lion.
Yeah.
Okay, who's going to do the countdown? If you have it paused at the count of 3, you're going to play it. So you'll be synced to us. 1, 2, 3, play.
Roar.
That's a good roar.
And he does that
I heard that the
second one.
Yeah.
I heard that the lion used to be a real live lion in the MGM hotel in Las Vegas that you could go. I don't think you could pet it, unless it was asleep or something.
Oh, wow.
I think there used to be a live lion from, certain hours that you could go and photograph and stuff that used to be there until it got too old. I think, and they retired him.
There was a grocery store where I grew up in Tacoma, Washington, that had it was the B&I Circus store, and they had a gorilla behind glass that you could people could poke at him and
oh wow,
and yeah, his name was Ivan.
A live gorilla?
Yeah, and all he would do was just sit there with his his chin on his fist and look sad the whole time.
Oh, that poor animal.
I know.
Yeah. The Haunting.
Yeah.
And we start with this amazing profile of a house in a darkened sky.
Yeah.
And this opening narration where he talks about, the house and everything is very evocative.
It sure is. Some of the movie locations for this, I'm trying to locate that. Hang on.
The outside of the house is in England. I know that.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But it's supposed to be in America. It's supposed to be in New England in America.
Yeah, designed by a crazy old hermit.
Yeah.
The most remote location he could move his family to.
Yeah.
Right, and he tried to find the most remote location in New England as far tucked away as possible.
Yeah.
It's actually, the house was Eddington Park Hotel in Alderminster, Warwickshire.
Oh.
It's now a hotel.
Yeah, I hear you can go stay there for, to say, I stayed in the same hotel that the house for The Haunting was shot.
Yes. And it's just about 5 miles southeast of Stratford-upon-Avon, where you can get to see the Shakespeare, theater, the Globe Theater.
The real deal.
Yep. 60-room mansion. Hugh Crane.
Now, it's only the exterior, of course, where they filmed in England.
Right.
Yeah.
The other everything inside is a set.
And this narration from the doctor, makes me wonder, like, is he narrating after the whole adventure of the movie takes place?
Yeah, I thought that too to myself. Like, could this be like he's writing up his memoirs or something?
Yeah.
You know,
but he talks about how exciting it is. It's like you'd think after it was over he wouldn't be saying that.
I don't know. He's kind of a
woman
weird
died.
Dude. He's kind of a weird guy, you know, where this whole thing, the reason why he's doing it and everything is kind of questionable. Like, you know, I thought to myself after, you know, revisiting it now, you know, he has no electronic equipment, no cameras, no voice recording, nothing.
Yeah.
You know? And he calls himself a scientist.
Yeah. His whole scientific method is just getting a bunch of other people to also see it.
And to just write it down. Memory, you know?
So we see this mourning father with his little blonde daughter, and he's reading from the Bible. And then the little girl is trying to look away, and he just pushes her back to stare at her dead mother's body in the casket. It's like very stern.
Yeah. And we learn later that he reads like bedtime stories from this crazy book.
Abuse much?
Yeah.
My mom told me that when her mother passed away, they laid her out in the living room, and her father made her give her mother a goodnight kiss.
Oh,
creepy.
Wow. That is a little traumatic.
In fact, it was my mother that woke me up to watch the spook show when I was 4 years old. And she watched this with me, and she was a bit of a prankster. She squeezed my hand.
Scared you.
So we just saw the death of the second Miss Crane, which was pushed by nothing at all down the flight of stairs. But there were some good shots where she's like looking at the hallway, and there's a mirror on the right side of the screen where she's also like being reflected, and it's very moody lighting in this.
One thing.
There's.
We talked about a little bit also with this movie when we were doing the A to Z of horror episodes is how much Sam Raimi and The Evil Dead owes to this movie.
Oh, absolutely. Everything owes to this movie. Like, you know, even like the Disney Haunted Mansion, like the fact that, you know, in this movie, you know, little spoiler here, you know, the breathing walls and things like that. Like, if you go to the Disney Haunted Mansion, like the way that room, you know, turns elongated into an elevator sort of down into the mansion, you know, like all those kinds of things, I think, you know, are tropes.
Well, and like whose hand am I holding? That's direct.
Yes.
That was right in Evil Dead. And the crazy camera angles zooming in on the pounding door and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the way that this film has crazy close-ups and like side angles and Dutch angles, and you know, Robert Weiss is a brilliant camera guy. Like, in other words, one of the things he did early in his career is he worked on Citizen Kane in the optical effects. Like, there was a thing called the optical printer, which allowed them to do special effects in Citizen Kane, like matte paintings and, you know, moving camera shots that were impossible, you know, to do other than with special effects.
Shot with the spiral staircase, and she has her noose and in her platter.
Yeah, she's carrying the rope on a silver platter. Yeah, on a silver platter. And there we go. Yoink.
So is there a room up there or just a balcony? Because it looks like there was a door that led to a room up there.
Well, there's like an attic.
It's a way up into the attic.
Yeah, there's an attic, and that's like a trap door that goes into the attic.
We also saw little Abigail morph into an old woman in that same bedroom where she lived her whole life. And,
but that wasn't in the attic, though. I think that's in the nursery, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because I remember there was another movie where they did a transition like that. I think it's The Wolfman.
Yes, exactly. The werewolf.
Where, someone's laying their head on a pillow, and then they repeatedly, you know, dissolve into different shots of different makeup.
Exactly.
And
dissolves.
Yeah, and the pillow behind the Wolfman actually was made of plaster, so the creases would all be the same when he went back for a different shot. And I wonder if they did the same in this one.
For his head to sit in, so his head wouldn't move.
Yeah.
Man, I don't miss the days when everybody smoked inside.
Yeah.
And smoking pipes.
This guy is talking to the woman who's the official owner. She resembles the actress who plays Sister Imperator in the Ghost videos, the early Ghost videos.
Oh, okay.
Doug's favorite band.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
And
Ghost.
I was saying that Dr.
McKay, I think.
Dr. Markway. Resembles I said to Ed, he looks like a cross between Tom Selleck and Clark Gable.
Yes,
because of his
totally
porn
does.
stash.
Back when the mustaches
he needs a baseball
were
cap
stylish.
and a Hawaiian shirt.
He has a Ferrari.
Yeah,
He's a charmer, all right. He's like the way he's pitching this to the owners of the house. He's like, well, I want to do some research, and I'm a scientist, and I want to bring some people into this house and make sure once and for all what's going on, and if there's any sort of like supernatural. And he's kind of like half saying that he doesn't believe it, but half saying that he's hoping to prove whether or not there is something there. So
you must let me have it for 2 weeks during my, time off from my college teachings or whatever, and then he's kind of drops the hint, like, she's an old lady and she admits that she's going to be hitting the other side soon, and she wants to know what's on the other side. And he's kind of dropping the dangling carrot of like, hey, you want me to find out if there's an afterlife for you?
Another weird thing about this is that he talks about he was only renting it for 2 weeks, right? But Eleanor seems to think she gets to live there for the rest of her life.
Well, she's cray-cray.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing we're going to see, a little inside monologue being narrated by Eleanor when she's driving to the house. But it's interesting that he says that he's going to bring his assistants, but it seems like he just picked these people randomly. And then we find out that he really, was trying to trap these people into
good psychics and stuff.
Yeah. But this dialogue...
He was supposed to have 6 and only lousy 2 showed up.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Hill House's reputation got to them first.
They were smart.
They didn't have any sense of adventure.
Yeah. So this dialogue between Eleanor and her sister and husband, it's just so
horrible.
Yeah, it's really horrible. Even the little girl is making fun of her, like,
What exactly
Eleanor is
does that little
blinking.
girl say?
She says, Auntie Nell is blinking.
Yeah.
Blinking?
Yeah,
because she's got
she squeezes her eyes shut a few times. And
it must be her, like, tick or something. So
must be but it's odd, thing to say. And it's like, because there's no, context, I wasn't quite understanding it.
Yeah. It's because it's something she does. I guess they're kind of showing her as a nervous person that kind of has a tick or a tell when she's like angry or nervous. But the way the little girl says it, it's just like, just want to like slap that little girl.
Yeah. You brat.
Oh, and the sister's not much better. She's awful.
Oh, yeah. I know.
And she says, like, you didn't care that mother died, did you?
Yeah, she cared for the mother for the whole time.
11 years. Only one, too.
They're just being really patronizing and treating her like she's almost like a maid, almost like she doesn't matter.
Yeah,
exactly.
Which is an empowering moment when she actually just decides to take the car anyway and drive off on her little adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really noticed the difference. Like, if you were to close your eyes and listen to that exchange between the sister and the brother-in-law and her tone of voice and the general angst and like, it's horrible. Then you listen to the rest of those speeches or, dialogue, like even with the man who's got the car and stuff, her relaxed tone is so much different in comparison to how angst-ridden she was when she was talking to the sister.
And I think that if this movie were made today, then the brother and the sister and her husband would have tracked her down and come to the Hill House just to get killed.
They would have had a GPS tracker on the car.
She's still a little nervous
so they'd have more people to kill off.
Here's my library card.
She's still a little nervous because she goes overboard and like showing, here's my driver's license, blood donor card, library card.
I agree. I mentioned that too. I thought nobody would do that, show the library card and stuff. Yeah. But it just goes to show you that, she is still nervous and stuff. But man, close your eyes and listen to her voice in comparison to the way it was in the other scene with her sister. Way more relaxed, I
think I'll stop in the middle of traffic and read a letter.
She's coming out of the underground parking. So this is supposed to be what, Boston? Because it says Boston parking lot.
Oh.
That probably doesn't mean it's Boston, but she's going to take US 50 and take exit 238. I was hoping for someone behind her to go like, beep, beep, come on, lady, move it.
That's what I kept thinking was going to happen, too.
There is a road that goes from Boston all the way down to Florida.
Yeah.
Post Road. Yeah, you can still take all the side streets and still go down it.
One of the things I was thinking about too is I believe I've listened to the audiobook of this, the original novel of the Haunting of Hill House, in the subtitle, and I believe she goes to a diner in the little town before she gets to the house, and just little bits of pieces like that, of course, had to be cut out, for the movie. But it's interesting because those little tidbits like that remind me of like a Stephen King story, where you go into like a diner in the little town and stuff, and you see the way the waitresses act, and they all know about this crazy house, and all the murders and stuff.
You start getting the harbingers of doom, like telling you,
exactly.
Yeah.
In a Stephen King story, he would think about the pie that he's eating, and it would remind him of a time where he ate another piece of pie, which would also have another flashback.
Yep, and then David Lynch would walk across the frame.
Well, and the doctor that's doing the experiment would actually be an alcoholic writer.
Right, just like Stephen King.
Yep, and there would be a psychic kid.
Red rum.
So you see here that she's already kind of like a little fantasizing about Dr. Markway and living in that house and stuff. It's like she, like you said, Ryan, it's like she's thinking this is going to open the door to a new life.
Yeah.
She's very sheltered.
It's funny, this groundskeeper is such a jerk. He's like, why don't you come back later?
He is the harbinger in this film.
Yeah.
He tells her, you're not going to, you're going to be sorry I opened this gate for you later or something like that.
She kind of clips him when she moves away. But then his wife is also a little bit of a harbinger there. She's like this dressed in black, stern woman.
Yeah, but
we don't stay after dark.
Seem to delight in the fact that these city slickers are going to get killed or whatever, like smiling at him and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that they're getting well paid, and they don't really care what happens, at the house.
Yeah, and that lady, like, no one can hear you scream alone, in the dark at night.
We get it.
Yeah, she says that like several times.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, you made me put the key in the lock. Now I'm mad."
Yeah, another funny thing, Nina, of course I haven't seen it in a long time, but I've seen this film many times. But Nina said that the old woman, who's the wife of the gatekeeper guy, she looks like a Margaret Hamilton, like a young Margaret Hamilton who played the witch.
Yeah. Very stern. And they do a rouge to make her to accentuate the hollowed cheeks.
Hollowed out her cheeks.
Sure.
The makeup department did nothing to try to make her look pretty.
You'll be sorry I opened this gate.
It's
funny because she's assertive in this scene. She's trying to do to the gatekeeper what her sister does to her.
Life.
It's weird how 2 years of the pandemic, and it's like you start thinking about, man, those people are talking with their faces so close together.
Don't watch the Andromeda Strain then.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's another Robert Weiss movie, right?
Yes, exactly. I love that movie. I love the novel. I read the book, But it reminds me also of that story about how, Bob Weinstein got like 2 inches away from Kevin Yeager's face and was screaming at him, like, this means war.
For Hellraiser Bloodline?
Yeah, like with spittle flying out of his mouth and stuff. It's
yuck.
Put a mask on.
Yuck. Yeah. Yeah, you know, another funny thing, Nina, of course, I haven't seen it in a long time, but I've seen this film many times. But Nina said that, like, her sister, Nina said that the old woman, who's the wife of the gatekeeper guy, she looks like a Margaret Hamilton, like a young Margaret Hamilton who played the witch. Yeah.
It's a gorgeous looking castle mansion
I think
thing.
it's a
60
hotel now,
bedrooms.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Stay there. It's like the Overlook, the one that Stephen King chose for the Shining.
Yeah. It almost reminds me of The Offer by the Dark Ditties, where they did that at this
with the Abbey.
Revensby Abbey or something. I'm probably naming that name.
Is that the location those guys have been using?
Yeah. Yep. Supposed to be haunted too.
Where's that place that they used for the Rocky Horror Picture Show? That's in England too, right?
Oh, maybe I can look it up.
I remember we were watching one of these movies, and it was brought up. I forget if it was the film we were watching had it.
They focus a lot on the window of that bell tower, but then you never see the inside of it.
Well, that's because there's no interiors. You know, the exterior is the only real physical place. The interiors are all on a soundstage.
Well, but they could have recreated that in the soundstage. I mean, what I'm saying is they focus on it like it's really important, but then it never pays off.
I think it's just meant to make us think that someone's watching her from there. So it's supposed to project a presence into it. Yeah,
the house is looking down on her.
And Ed, the filming location for the Rocky Horror Picture Show was Oakley Court, Windsor Road, Oakley Green, Windsor, Berkshire, England.
There we go.
Castle exterior, criminologist study, Brad's room, Janet's room, dining room.
that door knocker face with that it looks crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nina was saying that she noticed faces on other things too, like on the walls inside the house. There was kind of stuff that reminded her of a face, you know?
Yeah, face in the leaves, the texture.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they really go overboard on the 1999 remake because the faces are the little children spirits that were caught in the mansion because Hugh Crane was a horrible man.
Oh, is that what they explain it as?
Yeah, you see little kids, help us, Eleanor, and little animations and stuff like
that. Sort of reminds me of the Nightmare on Elm Street movie that explains how Freddy made that deal with the demon and all the souls and.
Oh, and he pulls his shirt up and there's all those faces.
It's chest. Like it's too much.
And the soul pizza.
I like the first one.
This is a super, super overwrought Baroque like house with all this furniture that's super like decorated and I can't even imagine what it would be like to like clean this house. Because there's nooks and crannies everywhere.
Clean, you can see your reflection in the floor.
Yeah.
Oh, one other thing about the sets in this film, I understand, is that, you know, every room has a ceiling, which normally in movies you don't have ceilings on the sets because you want to hang lights up above.
Oh,
sure.
But not in this one.
Like the filming of Hellraiser, where they had to actually film in a real house.
Right. But, you know, if it's not a real house, then it's very rare that you will see a set that has a ceiling.
But they should have called this The Haunting of Pattern House because every wallpaper and the bed, and it's one of those beds that has like a what do you call it?
A canopy.
Canopy. Well, yeah, and it's this flowery kind of fabric.
It's two twin beds shoved together.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but there's a canopy over it.
Yeah.
And even the walls it's not just wallpaper. The walls have texture of like these leaves, like almost like Damascus. Yeah. And the plaster. So it's patterns everywhere. This house is so busy.
I wonder who the art director was.
Oh, I can look that up. This is the part where she's saying, no one will hear you in the dark.
Yeah.
At night.
In the dark. What it reminds me of is like that sort of a line and a character and everything is like right out of Young Frankenstein, you know, like Frau Blucher. You know?
Yeah, but in most movies, those kind of characters are warning them. But here they're sort of delighting in the fact that, you're going to get it.
Well, they're
my boyfriend.
Yeah.
They were the groundskeepers. They know what's up.
Yeah.
It's like they know how to deal with the haunting of Hill House.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and that groundskeeper from Dark Ditties, right, that Simon Bamford plays. It's kind of similar in that way.
Sure.
It's a trope. Those are character tropes.
From the witching hour, he's like leading them to their doom.
They have a secret knowledge, and they're broken people.
Yeah.
You're doomed.
So set decoration for this movie was done by John Jarvis. And John Jarvis is known for other movies like, let's see, nothing that I really recognize.
There's so much stuff.
It's supposed to be set in America, and it's interesting because they said that the exteriors were shot at that hotel in in England, but was the interior sets also in London and England? Were they at Pinewood or Stepperton or?
That's a good question. Movielocations.com doesn't really list where the insides are. Yeah,
sets.
Probably the MGM lot.
Yeah, I wonder if it was all really shot in America. Actually, the sets.
Yeah. That's an interesting question. I
sometimes, like when Star Wars was made and stuff, sometimes they go to England because they get a really good price break on like taxes and stuff.
I like Theo's outfit. It's amazing.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Right?
Gorgeous.
She's got that little side turban / hat and the immaculate perfection of her hair.
Yeah, and Nina was saying that she thinks that these might be a designer.
Well, they're like Chanel.
Chanel designer.
Sure. Makeup for this movie was done by Tom Smith, who worked in such movies like Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark and Gandhi and Return of the Jedi.
Wow, he must have been pretty old by the time he did those.
Sure,
I mean 63.
Yeah. Like Robert Weiss was born in 1914, and when he did the Star Trek, the motion picture, he was 65.
Right.
Which kind of shows a little bit.
Star Trek, the motionless picture.
Yeah. So Theodora is very self-possessed. She's like the opposite image of Eleanor, right? Yeah. She's confident. She dresses well. She's not homely looking.
And she acts like she's her friend, but she really, really pokes at her and
Oh yeah. Needles her. Definitely, yeah.
It's an antagonistic friendship, to say the least.
But it's actually very much how women really are.
Well, frenemy.
It would be worse being psychic and being able to figure stuff out about her and then tell everybody all the time.
Yeah, like every little thing, like her hairstyle, she knows in advance, that she's going to do it, and
constantly exposing the fact that she's got a crush on the doctor.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw that antagonistic thing almost as being like her pushing Eleanor to be more her own person, to be like kind of poking her out of her comfort zone. Because
I felt like that in and out because it seems like sometimes it went too far and it was cruel.
Yeah. Also, it seems like, you were saying, Joe, about how the doctor guy, is charming, like in the very first opening, he meets the two women and he's one man with two women and he is charming the pants off of both of them. Yeah.
And neither one of them have any interest at all in the stupid nephew guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even when he was talking to the owner of the house, he was like, well, are there going to be any women in this assistant group of yours? Because you're a man. And that's why she says, you should have my nephew be there as well. Because when she finds out that there's going to be women with this doctor, she's like, I don't want any weird stuff happening in my house.
Right, like as if this guy is going to be the chaperone.
Yeah.
But he's questionable himself. He's like a gambler and, a ne'er-do-well. And he's just waiting for the old lady to kick the bucket so he can inherit the house and sell it and live like a king,
Yeah. Oh, and his ideas for the house are terrible. Just like really gaudy and stupid.
Even his aunt says, well, maybe this is a good idea for him to spend a night in the house and see what he's going in for,
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Our computer's really slow. I was going to ask you to look up Russ Tamblyn on IMDb. I think he was in either some Japanese movies, or like Godzilla type films, or he was in like a Harryhausen, or The Wonderful World of Brothers Grimm, like a stop motion thing. I could swear that I remember him being in, something like The Three Worlds of Gulliver or something like that.
Sure. I mean, he was in Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. He was in West Side Story. He was in Tom Thumb. He was in Twin Peaks.
That's it.
He plays Dr. Lawrence Jacoby in Twin Peaks with the guy with the red and blue lenses glasses. So, yeah.
I knew he was in something like that. It was Tom Thumb, which, he has to be a miniature,
Sure. He was also in General Hospital for a while, and he was in Ghost Dog, My Ghost Dog, which is a terrible movie, TV movie.
Was he in any Japanese ones? Any like the Mysterians or any of those?
That's a good question. I mean, I honestly can't tell by the titles on IMDb.
Okay.
But, yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. For me, he'll always be Dr. Jacoby, though, because of Twin Peaks. You got to dig your way out of the shit. If you saw the third season of Twin Peaks, he has some really good camera time in the episodes.
Where do you find that now? It's not on Netflix, right?
Twin Peaks?
Twin Peaks? Oh, there's a Blu-ray set that came out with all the stuff.
Oh, okay. Because I saw the old seasons, but I never saw the new one.
So here's the doctor explaining why he brought everybody here. And by everybody, I mean 2 people.
Yeah. Yeah, he's supposed to have 6.
Yeah. How can they kill off a bunch of people when there's only 3 of them?
Right.
Or 4, I guess.
Well, actually, this is one of those movies where, in a way, the latter films kind of created that 10 little Indians where they're getting knocked off one at a time.
Yeah.
This one, there's only 2 women and they don't get knocked off, and then 2 men and neither of them die either.
Yeah. yeah. It's all the house is just messing with them.
Right. But what's interesting? There's a lot of other films that come after this time period, in the color era, and there's one that was called The Legend of Hell House, which is almost the same template of similar story with a psychic researcher and, a handful of people, staying in a house, and, the house is supposed to be haunted, and, there's like a horrible man, who built the house, who, in that one, I think he was really actually a really short guy, and he had a crazy obsession with height, and so he had his own legs cut off so he could have these longer legs that were fake, mechanical legs, so that nobody would know that he was really short, and that was the ghost, his spirit that was really evil, that was inhabiting that house. And he was also like a sadist and a Satanist and all these things. But, that one had Roddy McDowell and, a bunch of really cool people. And there was much more violence and special effects. Like there was a scene in a real long dinner table where Roddy McDowell is at the end of the dinner table, and this plate with like meat and like a roast or something comes sliding down the dinner table, and it's got like spikes on it, and it goes like slam, and it would have gotten Roddy McDowell right in the face, but he ducked to one side, and he had one of those tall wooden chairs with a high back, and it went slam into the chair.
God.
The Legend of Hell House, you say?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'm looking at the trailer now. It looks interesting.
Very similar in plot, and concept to this
Even
one.
the house outside looks similar to the Hill House. Huh. Looks right up my alley. I'll check it out.
I bet Shirley Jackson would not have been happy with that one.
No. Oh, and there's a black cat attacking a lady in this movie, too. So in the 1999 remake, they actually, Liam Neeson in his experiment over the dynamics of fear, he actually gets a lot of people into the Hill House, and then
How
they
many?
just
do you know, is it like 5 or 10 or?
Yeah, I think it's about something like that, and then some of those people get picked off one by one.
So there is like a 10 Little Indians effect in that one.
Yeah, like there's a fireplace where there's like this giant pendulum thing, and there's a lion's head on it, and kind of eats someone's head off, when it's swinging and stuff. There's a lot of weird stuff.
Hellraiser Revelations, where they're like, oh no, our cell phone service stopped working, and now the cars won't start.
Yeah, kind of. Except imagine if that had like $100 million budget for like the sets and stuff. Yeah.
Kawinky Dink? I think not. Yeah, the thing about the other one is, did it have, the modern one, did it have any electronic equipment or anything? Did Liam Neeson bring any, ghost busting machines or anything?
It's been a while since I've seen it because it was 1999. I saw that in the theater. But I think so. I think he was supposed to have his experiment was supposed to have some sort of control and stuff. I think I remember something like that.
1999 was a year of like lousy PG-13 CGI horror movies.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It seems so silly that in this day and age, if you remake a film like that and you try to modernize it, that you would not, of course, have, your PKE meters and your ghost trap and, all that stuff, like Ghostbusters,
Or at least like stuff to record sound.
Right. It's something. Video camera, something, cell phone, iPhone.
I mean, nowadays people like...
You not smell the dittos?
That was the stuff where they printed the school newspaper, right?
Right.
Yeah. So if
in Animal House,
the ditto, you old.
Like in Animal House, when John Belushi dives into the dumpster and comes up with the test, mimeograph
the carbon.
thing. The carbon.
He's got the reverse.
So he could get the test answers.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they just described the house as a house of Hades or a leprous house.
I like that. Oh, and Nina was saying that there's like a book, like a diary or something. I think it was the one that you guys were saying that they were forcing the little girl to look at that.
Oh yeah, with all the paintings of devils and stuff.
Hasn't come up yet.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be William Blake artwork in there.
It looks kind of similar, but I don't think it's that. Well, we'll get back to it and we'll know. But
definitely. It's
I like the really good shots that they do where there's mirrors in the house. So we're always seeing the four. Sometimes in some shots we see the four characters, even though they're filming one side of the table. You see on the mirror behind them the other two characters.
And that's not easy to do, I bet, especially in 1963.
Yeah, because it's focused both on the foreground and background.
That's really clever because that means that, from a cameraman standpoint, like setups per day, you can get your shots in, much faster by designing shots like that, like using a mirror and stuff.
Sure, and camera stuff.
Yeah. Well, and mirrors seem to be important in this movie, and I guess it's
right
because Eleanor keeps scaring the crap out of herself by seeing her
with mirrors.
In the mirror.
Yeah.
And at one point, I think a mirror breaks, which is at a big crescendo moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in this particular shot, there's already like two different mirrors in the same frame that I'm seeing. So there's a lot of mirrors in this house. But speaking from like a guy who grew up in Portugal and likes old stuff like this, I mean, this house is great. I mean, I wouldn't want to live in this whole house, but there's a lot of stuff in this house that I think just looks amazing, even if they're props, even if they come from like a studio backlot prop master warehouse. I'm like, wow, these things look really nice. The whole decoration and stuff. The set design is amazing.
I totally agree. I mean, I'm one of those people that, before I lost my sight, like I wanted to have all that kind of, cool sculptural Baroque furniture, like chairs with claws and, high backs, like a throne and, tables with, like carved, gargoyle-y just, carvings and stuff. We have some friends near here that, what was it for Thanksgiving? Did we go up there? Was it, Nina, that the people that have all those sculptures and they have a house. They're very wealthy and they have a beautiful house up on I'm blind now, but Nina was looking. There's like a view, high view for seeing the whole Bay Area.
They have a sculpture of a bear on a bicycle,
like steampunk sculptures that are big, like 2-3 foot tall sculptures,
and a running leopard.
Like all these amazing with like goggles, like steampunk goggles and stuff, and they have a lot of sculptural stuff in their place.
Yeah, I mean, somehow I feel like if this was the haunting of IKEA house, it wouldn't be nearly as intimidating.
Yes, exactly. Although, that's what's one of the weird things about, like, for instance, we were talking about Stephen King, how he sets horror in the mundane, like neighborhoods and stuff, which, is unusual. And Clive kind of does stuff like that too, where, it's not in a castle. It's not in a Baroque mansion. It's just in like somebody's apartment or whatever,
Or that wonderful Guillermo del Toro museum houses that he has. He has like 2 of those, I think, in an apartment where he has all these props from his movies and statues and stuff. And they're all like done with this dark wood furniture and red wallpaper. It's amazing. If you haven't looked at that, I recommend that you search.
I did. Before I went blind, the Monsterpalooza conventions, I went to several of them in person, before I went blind. And Mr. Guillermo del Toro would come there, and all the good artists, all the people that make like wax museum life-size figures of, Boris Karloff as Frankenstein, and, the Mummy, and all these incredible, gorgeous pieces, that when they're for sale, they're like $11,000 or, $20,000 and stuff, and Guillermo comes in and sees them and says, "How much you want?" And just writes a check. And he says, "My guy will come and pick it up at the end of the show."
Wow.
Yeah.
And he has a house, like you say. One of the pieces that I saw that he picked up was a gigantic Frankenstein, like bigger than a man, maybe 12, 15 feet from chin head to top of flat head. And, an eyeball in each eye was like the size of a basketball, and he has that piece now in one of those mansion homes like you're talking about, like at the top of a flight of stairs, like just the whole house is like that,
I wonder if it's haunted.
It probably is.
He was in the WTF podcast a while ago with Mark Maron, and he was a Christmas episode, and he talked about how he has two guys who make those wonderful sculptures that he has in his house, like the half man from like Freaks and stuff. He's in one of those houses, and every time he walks in, he says hi to him, and that kind of stuff. So he's got a couple of guys, effects guys, who do these things for him.
Yeah, and that's the stuff that I saw in person. I was so lucky before I went blind to, I may not have gotten to actually go to visit Guillermo's house, but I got to see a lot of the pieces that he purchased and then are now in the house in person, like actually could touch them. Like it was that close to these pieces, and, met the artists, who made them and stuff, amazing work. They had this fantastic gallery at Monsterpalooza, which was kind of like a haunted house environment. It was like darkly lit. They had a big fake moon, and they had, sound effects and, monster lighting on the figures and stuff.
Yeah. So I think they realized that the house is now locked and they're going to go to sleep, right? So they're going to go to their separate bedrooms. They were just playing cards and talking about things like psychokinesis, which is not very scientific. But, they're going to get ready for sleep. So this is where it's really going to get started.
It's funny that Theo's psychic powers all seem to just revolve around bugging Eleanor. Like, it doesn't help at all with the, figuring out what's going on in the house.
Sure.
I think she's, like you were saying, kind of jabbing at her, like toying with her and using her own psychic ability to kind of read her mind a little and stuff.
Yeah.
But what's her motivation,
But yeah, if you would think, in most movies when a psychic gets brought in, it's because they're going to be helpful for, whatever, interpreting whatever's going on. And she's not at all.
Yeah, like if you look at some of these other movies, like that one I was talking about, The Legend of Hell House and stuff, or ones where they have psychics, like a bunch of different psychics are brought in. Sometimes the psychics are the problem because they have so much, ability, so much power that the house, and their weird power, sort of manipulates the situation and turns things upside down and crazy just because that person got brought into the project. You know what I mean?
They're showing that the house is now empty at night and everything's dark, and they focused on this sculpture face, and then it fades over the lobby of the house. So that's a really great. It's almost like the presence of the house, letting us know that the house is alive and conscious.
Right, like an Evil Dead. Join us.
And here's the first manifestation of the noises.
Yeah. Oh, the knocking.
Yeah, that is really effective. I saw this movie on a big screen one time, and it's really shocking to see with that sound.
Oh, they're both cowering in Theo's room now. They don't know where the knocking is going on. And I feel like the knocking was activated by Eleanor knocking on the wall to Theo. She knocked on the wall and said, "Okay, hey, good morning."
When they're sharing the rooms next door to each other so that they can communicate through the wall.
Yeah. And this is like triggering Eleanor because it's like when Mother used to bang the wall for help. And we also saw at the beginning that Abigail, the daughter of Dr. Hugh Crane, died banging on the door with her cane while her assistant or caretaker was out in the balcony kissing some guy. Yeah. So it's like this is the echo of the house banging.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because it all seems to be sort of like an outward manifestation of Eleanor's problems because she had the exact same situation with her mother. You know, she didn't come to her when she was calling, and then her mother died.
The banging, yeah. In fact, she's having a nightmare, and she wakes up from it with that banging, and she thinks it's her mother. She says, "Mother, I'll come. I'm coming." You know.
Yeah.
Every time there's a bust or a statue in the wall, it's kind of like facing the camera. It's like looking back at them. So that's cool.
And so this is kind of like the first haunted house that's the haunting comes from, in a way, sort of is amplified by the people that are, and it's not specifically like ghosts of people who died in the house.
Like sometimes, like I was saying, like if you are a very powerful psychic and you're brought in, you become like the battery that the house starts sucking and using to manifest its crazy shit, you know?
Right.
Psychic energy.
In this case, it's Eleanor instead of Theo.
Yeah, I think she's definitely Yes, right. She's like a battery of which the house is kind of like bouncing all this energy. Yeah.
Sucking it and manipulating
it. And now it's getting cold. Oh, it's cold in here. I'm going to be the guy who brings up the fact that Theodora sleeps with her makeup on, but that's just part of how movies go.
Yeah.
She's got that wingtip, eyeliner on.
I was going to ask you guys, have you ever had any ghost experiences or have you ever felt a cold spot or anything?
No.
No?
No. I mean, I've lived in houses that were like 200 years old and stuff, and I've slept in beds where I know people have died before, and it's like, no, not really. I can't say that I've ever felt anything like that. I felt certain anxieties that would pop up if I was like alone in a house at night, and like the house is empty and I'm the only person in it. I do tend to like, let me check to see if the doors are closed, and let me check to see if there's a noise, like you hear like something, sound of something falling, but then you go downstairs, it's like, no, everything's right here. I don't know what that was, but yeah, it's just weird. Houses make noises sometimes, and it just kind of like makes you a little anxious.
Yeah.
What about you, Nina?
Well, you remember my mom's house. It was very creepy. Remember the basement?
Oh, yeah. I went down there.
Down in the basement was original rock, and the mortar was so
It was
soft.
over 100-year-old house.
Yeah, right? It wasn't brick. It was like odd, organically shaped rocks, boulders.
So was there any ghosts or anything?
Oh, it had a creepiness, and a lot of people felt, that there was some unexplained noises of things like furniture moving or
things that go bump in the night.
Yeah, but nothing. It was, it's hard to tell because we did prank each other. Like I hid under the stairs and grabbed my cousin's ankle.
Classic.
My brother would sometimes take my mom's little Amish figurines and turn them around.
Oh, that's creepy.
Amish boy and Amish girl sitting on a bench, and he would move them around on the bench.
Mess around.
It was sort of like Elf on a Shelf.
Some people really don't like this kind of stuff, and it's like, I had an ex-girlfriend, okay, and when I would stay in her parents' house for the weekend or something, there was a room where my ex-girlfriend's grandmother had died, and it was the same bed, even though it wasn't the same mattress or anything like that. But I do remember I had no problem sleeping in that bedroom, but my ex-girlfriend's brother-in-law absolutely refused to spend the night in that house, and he would not sleep in that bedroom. He just did not want to do that. And it was kind of comedic in a way sometimes, because just the way that he would say, "No, I'm not sleeping there. I don't want to sleep there." And then I heard, "Oh yeah, he doesn't want to sleep there because that's where my grandmother died." And I'm like, "Really? It's just a bed. It's just a
that's what you call it. He noped the fuck out of there."
Yeah, it was not even an old house. It was just an apartment, but it was just the fact that
you don't even know where people might have died where you go around your day.
In real estate, you'd run into people like that sometimes, and or you tell them about, just have to let you know, somebody died in this house, and so you could never tell right away if somebody was serious or not about having like fear or reservations about it. Sure.
I mean, if it's a murder or something, if it was a gruesome murder, I might have reservations about living in that house. But if it's just, this old lady, she was 90 and she passed away in this bedroom, like, I'm okay with that. I don't have any problems with that. And now if you say, no, the disclosure is about murder-suicide. It's not about people passing away in their sleep. Right. It's just, that's the thing that really gets people riled up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed to living next to a cemetery either. I think it's actually a peaceful place to live. Yeah, go ahead, Ed.
Do you want to hear? Okay. Mine's from the film that I worked on, The Deadpit. There was a mental institution that had been decommissioned for like 20 years and stuff, and all these wings of these buildings used to house mental patients, but no longer. Had been shuttered for many, many years. But it had cold spots, and it had it was a 2-story building, and they gave me one wing of this one building to set up my workshop. And I was, this is a movie where we were filming a zombie movie at night, so every day we would arrive on location, like 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, start getting ready. When the sun goes down, we start shooting. We shoot all night. When the sun starts coming up, we stop shooting. Well, they're all way across like the campus, of this location, filming a bunch of zombies and stuff. And I'm sending, people over there who are in, fully zombie made up, and send them over there and stuff. So I'm alone in my building, working on something, and I hear footsteps above me, and I know there's not supposed to be anybody there, and I radio over and I say, did you guys send anybody over? Is there supposed to be? And they're like, no, it's like, so I'm the only one in this building. And I'm creeped out, because I'm hearing footsteps. And so I go up there and there's nobody there. And then, I keep having incidents like that happen while I was working on this film. And you would go into certain places, like there was an operating theater where they had done a lot of lobotomies and maybe some unnecessary surgery or something, who knows, and they had this hydrotherapy room that was kind of like a torture area, and there was a place where they had a place to punish you, where you sat in a chair that was facing into a corner where they had straps on your legs and arms.
Jesus.
And it was like burning, the place where the person would stare in the corner was like all the paint was peeling, like their heat vision was burning a hole in that wall, where all the rest of the room, all the paint was perfectly fine. But, we heard whispers, we heard footsteps, we felt cold spots, in that place. That place was really creepy. And it's gone now. They tore most of these buildings down. But man, back in 1989 and 1988, when we worked there, it was really creepy.
Huh. We should do an audio commentary for Deadpit.
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah.
Why haven't we done that already?
So that house was not clean.
We'll add a stretch goal.
Yeah, we'll do that. I'll put that on here later this weekend.
That you sure they weren't fucking with you? Like some assistant was hey, go mess with Ed.
So. They really did. But there was one woman who was my friend who was an assistant, and played a zombie and stuff. And she was with me alone one night as well. We heard it. Both of us heard it, and we decided to get a flashlight and a radio and go up there and explore and find out what the hell was going on. And we couldn't find anybody, and we didn't. There was no animals or footprints or anything, but we would always hear noises. And there were other buildings, that had really bad, vibes, because that was where the dentist office was, where we used real dentist chair in the film that was there on location, and people who got in that dentist chair might have had a lot of pain and bad vibes,
anxiety, and especially
stress.
if you have mental illness and stuff and you're strapped to a chair and you don't want to get your teeth fixed. I've been to the Winchester House. I've been to the Winchester House in California.
It's very close
in San Jose. Yeah, San Jose. That house had like 160 bedrooms, 40 staircases, 13 bathrooms, 47 fireplaces, and there was weird stuff all over the place.
Yeah, that house doors that open to a brick wall.
Yeah, stairs that go up to the ceiling and there's nothing there, and doors that just, it used to be bigger because that house was really old, and part of it, was destroyed by earthquakes and fires.
And there was a fire too. There was a fire at one point.
Yeah. But you go into that house, they do these like flashlight tours and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's definitely areas in that house where it's freezing cold. Cold.
Yep.
I went in there, I just had like a shirt on, and I remember this was almost in the summer or late fall. And there were places where like, gosh darn it, I should have brought like a hoodie because it's cold in here.
Cold in here.
It's a place like a moisture trap. But it's like it didn't seem like it was a humid place, but it's just – and then across the street, of course, they built this gigantic, luxury open-air mall called Santana Row. So it's become kind of an attraction. But it's like back in the day, that must have been a really creepy place to go before they,
Yeah, back when it was just like a field around it,
Yeah,
just
before
like
it was a commercial
stable.
attraction. Imagine going there in the days where that thing was just kind of starting to get neglected and kind of crumbly a little bit and still had most of all the wings and stuff. That must have
And
been
the
a weird place
farmland
to-
around it was just empty farmland and stuff.
built to appease the spirits of the victims of the Winchester rifles.
Yeah, me and Nina would go there, to see movies at the Dome Theaters right next door and go down Santana Road and have lunch and stuff. We're very familiar with that whole area.
So it's not-
the
it's-
writing on the wall now.
Yeah, it's not like the house was haunted by ghosts that moved in. It was like, ghosts, please move into this house. It's for you.
She felt like the ghosts of people who'd been killed by
By
her
the
husband's
Winchesters.
her husband's business had brought the money was ill-gotten gain.
Yeah.
And the
Blood money.
suffering.
all that hammering and nailing and construction kept the ghosts at bay, she thought.
Wow.
Oh, the writing on
Yeah. Yeah,
The
she
writing
really
on the
freaks
wall.
out about this. How could they use my name?
See, but without punctuation, do they mean help, comma, Ellen, come home, or do they mean help, Eleanor, you guys, help Eleanor come home?
Yeah.
Yeah, like help us kill her so she can stay here as a
Right.
ghost.
Or do they mean help, comma?
And of course, this is setting her off tremendously. But did they say it was chalk? I missed that
It
part
was
where
like Chuck, yeah, they taste it.
they tasted it.
I
Like,
think
what,
it's supposed to be.
how do you know the taste of chalk?
I think it's supposed to be ectoplasm.
Yeah.
Speaking of ectoplasm, have you guys ever seen, like, what are your other favorite spooky ghost story movies? Like, have you ever seen The Entity?
I think
Is
so.
that about a baby or something?
No, it's about a woman who gets haunted, just a contemporary, like 1970s house, like a track house and stuff. And she's got a couple kids and everything. And she just gets harassed by a ghost.
sexually
And
harassed,
she gets
right.
raped by a ghost and stuff. And it ends up becoming, like one of these scientist, experiment movies where they bring her whole house, all her in her bed, her couch, her everything, and set it up inside of a gymnasium, a big giant, or like an airplane hangar type building where they can put cameras and lights and everything and watch and record it all, and stuff.
Wow.
And it happens like it's again, like the ghost starts raping her and stuff, and it's all being recorded. Like the people who are studying it, are catching it all on video and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite ghost movies is The Phantom Carriage. It's from 1921. It's by it's a silent film directed by Victor Sjöström, which was based on a novel by Selma Lagerlöf. And this is about a guy who have you ever see? Do you remember that movie, Ed? Do you know what I'm talking? The Phantom Carriage.
I think it's the one where there's like spooks and demons and stuff like harassing the carriage at night as it's traveling along.
No. I'll explain what the synopsis is. It's like it's this one guy. He's a drunk and he's a horrible man and he's destroyed everything in his life. And the legend says that if you die, if you're the last person to die on New Year's Eve, then you become the driver of the Phantom Carriage. So basically you become death, picking up everybody who's died throughout the year until next year.
Interesting.
And so he's it's a really good movie. I mean, there's some really optical effects done in camera where the death is showing up at holes from bodies lying on the ground, where it's just like overlaid with,
Right.
They shot the first the person in the bedroom lying on the floor.
Like ghostly superpositions.
And then they would rewind the movie, and then they would shoot again a double exposure where another guy comes in and helps the guy get off of the ground, and you still see the corpse on the ground. And there's some really crazy things, like a carriage that you can see through coming down the road in the mist, and it's a really amazing film. It's about a tale of redemption. It's about this alcoholic guy, but it's a really good story. I do recommend The Phantom Carriage. I don't want to spoil it too much. But it's
that's great. I mean,
really amazing.
This kind of a commentary is a great opportunity to recommend other. I recommend one. Are you guys familiar with this one called The Others?
Yeah, with Nicole Kidman.
Yes,
that was great.
I love that one.
Yeah. It's like a ghost story, but told from the other side's perspective.
Yes.
Yeah, it's from Alejandro Amenabar.
And the cool thing about it is, throughout the film, most people, if they've never seen it before, and we won't give it away, they're not aware of what the twist is, and when the twist happens, they're like, whoa.
Yeah. It's like watching The Sixth Sense and then going back and checking to see if everything falls together, and you're like, oh, okay.
I mean, unfortunately, The Sixth Sense is one of those ones that I think pop culture has already ruined for 99% of the people. Even if they haven't seen it, they know, the catchphrase is, I see dead people,
Right. And once, for me, after I saw Sixth Sense, I liked it the first time I watched it. And when I saw it a second time, like, I don't need to ever see this movie again.
Well, The Shining is another good one. Ghost movie, like Haunted Hotel.
Oh, yeah. The Shining is great.
Yeah.
Have you seen that other version, though, the television made one that's supposedly Stephen King?
Yeah, the Mick Garris's version of...
Right.
Yeah, I did see it. Like back in the early 90s, I rented it on VHS tape, and I saw it with some friends. And it was really long. I mean, It's I can't compare it to The Shining by Stanley Kubrick, but I think it's a much better adaptation of the book. But at the same time, it's also a little hokey. I don't know.
Have you read the book? Did you read the book?
I haven't read the book, to be honest.
Okay.
But I do have a copy of it. I have a hardcover right there on the thing. But I bought it like last year. But no, maybe 2 years ago. I haven't really read it yet, but I lived through it. I read some of the topiary scenes and some of the opening of it and stuff. So I'm like, yeah, I can see why Mick Garris, this is a better adaptation. But at the same time, I think The Shining just totally made it its own story. It's but yeah, I've seen it. It's a little hokey. I don't know. The lady coming out of the bathtub, maybe too much makeup on that. Yeah, it's good.
I haven't seen it. I wanted to. I've wanted to see that, and I just never.
It's interesting to compare. Like if you have seen the Jack Nicholson one, though.
Oh yeah.
It's interesting to compare because they are going to do the same scene from the bathtub in both versions, and so to compare the makeup on both versions and stuff is interesting.
Sure. Yeah, and the House on Haunted Hill with Vincent Price.
I love the updated one.
Yeah.
Did you see the updated one?
No, I've seen the original one.
The one with Jeffrey Combs and Jeffrey Rush.
No, I don't think I did. I just saw the black and white one.
You would love it. You would love it. I think, I personally like it a lot. And, because, Jeffrey Combs, he's awesome.
Sure. Yeah.
So he plays this mad doctor in it's not like the Vincent Price one. It's a completely different story.
Staircase alert.
This is so stupid. We missed his idea for like turning the library into a nightclub.
Oh yeah, Russ Tamblyn. He's so hip.
Well, I looked up to see how they did the stairwell effects, and it said that they had a cable that could be tightened or loosened that would make the stairway either
wobble,
stable or wobbly.
That would be unnerving to be on there when they're doing that.
Well, he's actually dancing and swinging side to side. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Stupid.
That's cray.
That's
what's interesting is we in our Deadpit movie we had a spiral staircase just like that.
Exactly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, very rickety and crazy too.
One time I trolled a bunch of people in a suspension bridge. It was called the Capilano Suspension Bridge, and it's in Canada, and it's the longest suspension bridge in the world, I think. And so this is like back when I was like 17 or whatever, or 18. And I was crossing that bridge with my brother, and I stopped in the middle of it, and I just kind of wobbled a little bit side by side. And immediately I didn't even do it that much. Come on. It's like, but immediately a bunch of people just snapped their neck back at me like, whoa, what are you doing? Like, hey, relax. I just did like a back and forth wobble.
Start sawing on the cables with a saw.
like Indiana Jones with the machete.
Like people really are scared of bridges sometimes. And
so here he is, like Temple of Doom with a machete, chop.
But when I say the longest suspension bridge, it's like gigantic cables and like wooden structure with multiple like layers of, flooring and stuff. It's like, it wasn't like a rickety thing with just ropes and
like Indiana
boards
Jones.
Missing. Yeah.
All right. Deadpit is now in the Kickstarter.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yay.
But what's funny, Jose, is, you were just a young, dumb punk kid. You weren't meaning any harm.
Yeah, I was just like, hey, let me just wobble on this a little bit. I wasn't afraid of it because I've never been afraid of heights, but there's people who just get completely frozen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember once I was at a castle in Portugal. It was at the ruins of this castle. It wasn't even that tall. It was one of those castles that basically is just the outer walls, and then inside there's maybe like a souvenir shop. And there's some stairways made out of granite that go up the tower and stuff. And I just went upstairs and went to the top of the walls. And an ex-girlfriend of mine, she didn't want to go because she thought it was too tall. She was afraid. Even though the freaking, where you walked on the walls, it was like maybe you could lay two people across. It wasn't really – you didn't have to walk on the edge of it.
Precarious.
Yeah, but it's just some people are really scared of heights.
Yeah.
I thought when I went skydiving that it would cure me of my fear of heights, and it did not. I still hate ladders.
Yeah, I couldn't believe she went skydiving. It was before we met.
That is shock therapy right there.
I know. Afterward, I was like, "Oh my God, I could have broken my leg." What was I thinking?
I'm not afraid of heights, but I don't think I would ever want to skydive. I don't know.
Not on purpose.
Yeah, not on purpose. No.
You might have to someday if you're on a plane. You have to jump,
Yeah.
All right, they're cracking the booze in the movie.
Yeah.
Eleanor has a cold, and it's like, here, have a shot of whiskey. It's like everybody's really chill. Even though they've went through some very weird situations, they're still pretty chill. They're like chatting and doing their nails and playing cards. And even when there was that big scary scene with the banging, things got back to normal pretty quick. And it's more the sound that scares you because nothing's really happening on the camera. You're just looking at a door. Door's not doing anything yet.
Yeah, I would be really surprised. I mean, curious to find out what the budget was. I mean, they saved a ton of money.
Yeah.
By today's standards and movies, they would never be able to get away with this. That's why I'm sure the modern one, was all CG'd up with all the monster.
Oh yeah, way too much CGI. Like the curtains are blowing in the wind, and then the curtains make these little faces of children. Help us, Eleanor! Help us!
Oh,
and then at the end, there's like Hugh Crane shows up as a gigantic floating dust ghost out of his own painting, and there's a gigantic door that's all sculpted like Rodin's Gates of Hell.
Oh
And Lily Tomlin is carried down the gate by lots of hands. It's so much CGI. It's just insane.
And then the ghost of Shirley Jackson comes and burns the set down.
And being 1999, the CGI kind of looks like PlayStation 2 graphics.
Yeah.
So
that's what I was just going to say. Unfortunately, CGI is one of those things that it doesn't age well.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I mean, nowadays it's probably indistinguishable, but we live in the present time. Maybe in the future, people will be like, "Oh yeah, I can definitely tell that CGI."
Yeah, but at the same time, a lot of people feel like the new thing is the best thing, and so you get people that don't want to watch black and white movies or movies that have stop motion in them and stuff like that.
You're absolutely right, and it's really weird. I mean. It's kind of, in a way, it's almost like propaganda. It's like the generation of people who grow up like on MTV or some new fad, where really quick editing. No, I know I'm old, but I'm just saying at the time it was a new fad of MTV where the quick cutting of the editing in music videos was creating a new like visual language for young people at that time. I was young then, in the 80s and stuff. And so what happened was we got used to seeing a much faster, quick cut style in films, like in action films or just in films in general, and commercials too. It's like I couldn't believe, like back in the day, Max Headroom TV show had these things called blipverts, which were advertisements that were like 10 seconds or 5 seconds. We now have that. We have 6-second commercials and stuff, but in the TV show, it would make you explode.
They just found the heart of Hill House. So the doctor summoned everybody to a hallway and says, "Come on, everybody! Here, stand right here." And it's like a cold spot.
But we're not going to go in there.
Yeah. So it's like it's right in front of the door to Abigail Crane's bedroom where she grew up and died. And it's like this cold spot is not going to go in any thermometer. Yeah.
He didn't even try. He didn't even bring a thermometer.
Right.
In the 1999 version, that door grows a giant CGI fist and pushes Eleanor away.
Oh, wow.
It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah, I mean, in this version, at least they could have done is had a little steam coming out of their mouth, like.
They do.
They did. Yeah, they do.
Oh, okay. Good.
You can barely tell, though.
I think their makeup was made a little paler, too.
Probably. I still don't get what this guy is up to, like the Dr. Markway.
Yeah.
He's trying to prove that the existence of a, life after death or something, I guess, or that ghosts exist.
Yeah. Well, and Shirley Jackson's sort of version of a haunted house is that a house that absorbs. So the house is alive and it absorbs the energy from all the bad things that happen around it. And from the people.
What else is interesting is the way that, they describe it as having a heart. The house has got a heart,
Yeah.
The other movies, like Poltergeist and stuff, like, that little weird little lady, Tangina, that's in Poltergeist that comes in and goes like, "This house is clear."
Yeah.
Stuff, or whatever, She's
Come into the light, children.
She would also be the kind of person that would say, like, this house has many hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I love talking about all these other movies, like ghost stories, ghost movies. Do you remember that one Ghost Story, just called Ghost Story?
No.
It had all these three big actors, like who was it? The dancer, Fred Astaire was one of them. Who else? Like Melvin Bell. It was three older men, who were famous actors. But
so, what is this called? Ghost Story.
Ghost Story.
When I think of horror movies, I think of Fred Astaire.
Written by
first name.
It's written by Peter Straub, and it's got Fred Astaire, Melvin Douglas,
and it's got Alice Krieg as the woman who gets murdered.
The Borg Queen.
Yes, she drowns in a car, in an old timey car.
Oh, damn! And Douglas Fairbanks Jr.
That's it.
I got to watch this. Okay, cool.
Dick Smith did the makeup effects, and so it's really cool.
Oh, did you know that Guillermo del Toro studied with Dick Smith?
The hand-holding thing.
Well, what it is with Guillermo del Toro is that he studied the Dick Smith Advanced Makeup course. Like, in other words, it's a correspondence course. You don't actually sit with Dick and get taught. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he actually got to talk to him. Yeah, listen to that podcast.
Dick is somebody that was so accessible. You could call him up on the phone and ask him questions and stuff. I did. Yeah. He was wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, so this is where she's listening to like little children laughing coming from the wall.
Yeah, and it sort of looks like a face in the wall.
And there's a weird sort of mumbly sound of the father.
Yeah, I almost thought that was prayer or something.
They make it so you can't hear what he's actually saying, but it sounds really creepy. It
sounds almost like scripture, perhaps, or something.
As it goes on, she's laughing the girl is laughing at first, and then she's crying and she's screaming.
And she is asking for Theodora's hand, and this is where we're going to get that. Whose hand am I holding?
Yeah,
you're breaking my hand.
Yeah, see, this is when my mom would grab my hand because she knew.
When she was little, and her mom would try to scare her.
Yeah.
Of course, this disembodied hand would come to a very fine cinematic point in Rawhead Rex, where the woman runs out of the woods holding her boyfriend's hand, and where's your boyfriend? He's right here. Yeah. It's just a hand.
Andy.
Or Jurassic Park too.
Yeah.
Oh, look, there's a face on the wall.
Yeah.
You can see
awesome.
the eyes and the mouth and the plaster.
Latin word for that, the ability to see a face in something that's not a face.
Like chiaroscuro or something.
Yeah, there's some word for it. It's interesting because there's a lot of apps,
Pareidolia.
There you go.
Patterns.
There's a lot of apps that will use facial recognition, and you can animate dolls and photographs and stuff and make them talk.
Yeah, that's what Nina did with the
Wishmaster bust.
Face,
right.
But some apps rely on actual facial recognition, and other apps sort of impose a face, and it's almost like you could put a plate of spaghetti arrange it like a face, and it'll animate it because it animates what it thinks where the mouth and nose would be.
Yeah, like Snapchat does the face swap, and sometimes they do face swaps with like a button in someone's jacket or a cat face. Yeah. And it makes it really weird.
Like the sorting hat in the Harry Potter.
Yeah, but that it's our brain trying to make sense of patterns, and it's called pareidolia. There's a whole subreddit devoted to pictures of things. I've taken pictures of things that look like faces, like a little electric box that looks like the face of a robot, for example.
Oh, yeah.
I like that stuff.
Those are good ones, robots.
Or a light switch or a power outlet that looks like it's surprised.
Yes.
It's got the little two things for eyes and then the little mouth, which is
he's got a clipboard now. Wait, he's taking notes.
Oh, good.
No tape measure, though.
Yeah.
No thermometer.
That's shot right through a harp. Yeah. It's like it's looking through a cheese slicer.
I learned from my job that a clipboard is your best defense against anything.
Let me check my schedule.
Yeah. They're always like, well, what do you do when somebody threatens to shoot you or whatever when you're on the property? Well, I have a clipboard.
It used to be.
A clipboard will get you anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could a clipboard and a lanyard, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I have both.
Yeah, right. Nobody stops you.
Yeah,
and a determined step.
There's a thing called social engineering, where it's like people who try to walk into companies and try to get secrets from them. There's a lot, where they're like, oh, they're coming in and someone's running their badge, and then the other person's coming in. Oh, I forgot my badge. Oh, it's okay, just go in. And then they go and sit down at someone's desk and try to get some stuff going. That's called social engineering, and a lot of it is based on looking like you belong there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of places where they pick up the computer, unplug the laptop and say, okay, we're going to take this in to get prepared and see you later. They'll go like, okay.
Every year I used to go to the home show, to set up my booth for Remax or for Fairbanks Neighborhood Housing before then. And I learned right away that it didn't, they gave us little passes to go in the back door, but I learned right away that if you look straight ahead and you're carrying stuff, nobody ever stops you and asks you for your passes. Right.
Sure. Yeah, it was kind of like that at Comic-Con and stuff too, but there were some places where it would be a snafu.
Oh yeah. At a hardware store in my hometown in Portugal, there was a big robbery committed to a gigantic hardware store where the robbers just pulled up after the store was closed, dressed in overalls and stuff, and they didn't even act sneaky. They just picked the lock of the store, opened all the lights of the store, and just started hauling stuff into a truck. And anybody driving by just thought that they were,
night
something.
Workers.
Yeah, night workers. And then they just took off, and that was it. They stole the store.
Yeah.
Crazy. And the police station was like 2 miles up the road. It's crazy.
Oh wow. I listen to stuff like that on those Reddit, on YouTube. There's these Reddit stories where they talk about stuff like that.
Yeah, well, right. Like, and what she does is the opposite. When she's like, "Do you want my library card?" If she had just been confident, she would have been fine.
So this doctor is. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, my Diners Club card.
Yeah,
and
my blood donor card.
My Macy's card.
Yeah.
Here's my Kroger card.
Yeah.
So the doctor is always like playing the both sides of this thing. Like when someone's saying, "Oh, I saw this and I can explain it," he's like, "Well, there's probably an explanation for that." And sometimes it's just like, "We found the heart of the place. Look, it's a cold spot." It's like, so what side are you on?
Yeah.
Are you
I shouldn't have brought you because your crazy antics are going to mess up my study.
Yeah.
The scientist's wife, the wife of a scientist. You ever seen the Lost Skeleton of Cadabra?
I think I have. That's that movie that fans made, right? To look old.
No, they're actually real actors and stuff, but it's just hilarious because they just totally spoof those old black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
30s.
It's made to look like it's an old movie. Yeah. I've seen it years ago.
But they have, real normal actors like Dan Roebuck and stuff.
You have to move over here.
I got to hand it to the photography of this movie. It's just so crisp and clear for black and white. It really is nice.
Robert Weiss was a brilliant, special effects guy, cinematographer, before he became a director. So
you're watching a high definition version, right, Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks great.
There's a moment going on here between the Doctor and Eleanor. Oh, are they hearing like the grandfather clock or something? Clock chime? Something happened.
The actors, the actress,
yeah,
what's her name?
Here's the book that we were talking about. So I think these paintings are made to look like Blake, but I don't think they are. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
I don't recognize them as Blake either.
Yeah.
But what were you saying?
They're very Blake-esque.
One of the only things I'm really familiar with Blake, from sight is, the tattoo on the back and the guy in Red Dragon.
Yeah.
It's a Blake piece, that one's pretty distinctive that I can remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to me, it's that bearded man with his fingers creating a compass to create the worlds.
It's a Blake piece.
Yeah, that's a Blake one as well. Is it the marriage of heaven and earth or something like that? I don't. Urizel or whatever the character is called. I don't know. There's like a Urizen. Yes, Urizen in the mythology of William Blake. He's the embodiment of conventional reason and law. There's this painting of him like standing inside a sun and a cloud, and he's just like getting two fingers of his hand, and light is shooting out, and he's turning them into like a compass or a protractor or something. He's just kind of making the orbits, all that stuff. That's the first one I probably ever saw of Blake. He's a really amazing artist.
I know Clive's a big fan of William Blake.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So what part of the film is here now?
They're
just kind of
book. Talking about
There's parts of this movie where it's just the dynamic between the characters more than it's almost like meant to disarm you that they're in a haunted house.
The girls are needling each other again.
Yeah. Well, she told her she didn't believe that she killed her mother.
Yeah.
But now she's got the psychic outfit on, which is the black sweater with the long chain with like a medallion on it dangling from her neck. And Eleanor is just dressed in white, which is the complete opposite.
I wonder what she does, like for a living. Like, you think she's somehow makes a living off of being a psychic or something?
It's a good question. I wish they'd gone a little more into the backstories of the other characters. Eleanor is the only one we know anything about.
She works at Duke University.
Is that what she said?
Theo, yeah.
Oh. Thank
you. But in what
capacity?
capacity?
I totally missed that.
Well, she makes a lot of money, whatever she does.
20 cards.
Yeah, but that could have just been like in Ghostbusters where they're just giving her a test. Like, does she actually get paid for that?
And another thing you don't see in movies anymore is all this interior monologue, with the echoey voice.
Oh yeah, what's her name, Theo? She does that a lot.
Yeah.
From the whole beginning, where she's in the car and everything.
No, you mean
Eleanor. The feeling that this
what's her
marriage
name?
is kind of a sham.
Eleanor. Oh yeah, the doctor and his wife. You mean?
Yeah. I mean, she seems like.
My imagination thought she's rich. Her family is rich, and she married the doctor, and it should have been so that he could do his experimenting and stuff, and not have to worry about making a living. That her family is from money or something. That's the impression I get. But that actress, I believe, is one who later becomes Miss Moneypenny in the Bond films.
Oh,
yeah.
The wife is more. Which one? The
woman who's the doctor's wife.
Sure, yeah, I can do that.
She's
more concerned about being embarrassed by the experiment that he's doing.
Yes. Well, she thinks it's silly because who believes in ghosts and psychic, crap, like.
Yeah, the wife is played by Lois Maxwell, who's also in Dr. No and Thunderball. She's Miss Moneypenny.
Yeah, one of the best Bonds. Those are some of the best
Yeah,
Bonds.
she's Miss Moneypenny.
Miss Moneypenny.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Russ Tamblyn, he's in East of Eden, I think. Oh, no, he's in West Side Story.
Yeah.
With Robert Weiss directing.
Right. We mentioned that, yeah. She just told the scientist's wife that, you can stay at the nursery, which is that room that nobody's been in so far. Room.
Yeah,
the Heart of Hill House.
And then now she's realizing that was a terrible thing to do, so she's going to try to clumsily fix it.
Yeah.
Which doesn't work.
Yeah.
In the 1999 version, it was so overproduced and overwritten. There's like a part where Eleanor goes into the secret room and she finds an album of pictures, and the album of pictures starts flipping itself really rapidly, and the pictures start turning into an animation, and it's like, what is going on in this movie? It was very. I mean, it's a guilty pleasure for sure, but just because of Liam Neeson and the cast and stuff. Catherine Zeta-Jones is also very needly towards Eleanor, and there's a whole narrative. I think the innkeepers had a daughter that died, so that explains why they're so like sad and miserable, and then basically it's just this whole thing about the ghosts of children that were in this house because Hugh Crane was a monster.
But that's not very scary.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
How do you really create scares, and with mood, and this movie is really good at that,
Oh yeah. The other one is basically jump scares, like Owen Wilson is talking inside a fireplace. You saw the fireplace in this movie is just a regular sized fireplace. In the 1991 version, the fireplace you can walk inside it, and then there's like bones in the fireplace that all of a sudden just jump out with ashes and stuff.
Look at that sign above the arch there. Suffer little children, suffer little children, suffer little children. Yeah,
I think it's the quote, suffer little children to come to me.
Yeah,
Jesus.
but he just used only that part.
Yeah.
Context, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
Well, he suffers his little daughter. He made her suffer.
Yeah, he sure did.
I mean, when you hear the crying, of the ghosts and stuff, my imagination says it's what was being done to the little girl, that eventually became an old lady, and stayed in the nursery her whole life, that one room. And ironically, like, the caretaker girl, somehow the house, has, an evil or, a succubus of energy sucking, or something, because the girl that was fooling around with the farmhand out on the veranda, she ended up not having a happy life and getting married and like moving in with the guy who's on the veranda there in that house. She inherited that house, and she lived there alone for the rest of her life and went mad. I mean, she had the world by the tail. She had this beautiful, expensive house now all of a sudden. Why wasn't she happy? Why couldn't she like go off to Europe or something?
I thought it was strange in this movie also that the groundskeepers just sort of disappear after the very first day. I mean, shouldn't they be coming back in the daytime every day?
Well, they do, I think, but we just aren't.
Guess they don't see it. Yeah, they come in for breakfast. They come in to make breakfast and then they leave.
Yeah, because like the man stays out by the gate, I guess, and the lady comes in to do the food.
I think and what we were saying, Ed, I think that Abigail stayed in that house because this house is almost like a psychic trap, right? So it's like once you get into this house, it doesn't want to let you out. Like they have a hard time leaving the property at one point.
Yeah.
It's just it will suck you until you're dead.
Yeah.
Basically, it will take your energy and cause you anguish and take your control your life until you're dead.
Your soul.
Well, yeah, and I think like this thing about Eleanor always getting scared of herself in the mirror. It seems like it's taking her anxiety about
that's a metaphor.
And her feelings about how she killed her mother and her guilt and shoving it in her face over and over again.
Yeah, I think it's a total metaphor for like you're afraid of your own shadow. You're afraid of your own self.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a door opening and someone's coming in. It's the nephew.
Yeah.
When I saw this, I was like, "Is he sleepwalking? What the hell is going on?" He's carrying something in his hand.
And he was supposed to stay on the second floor so that the wife would be okay, but he's like, "Well, but I had to get a drink."
It's booze.
Yeah.
That's basically booze. He's just got a flashlight coming to get some booze.
In a way, he's a little responsible for what happens.
What's really unrealistic is the fact that there's just one bottle of booze.
Oh yeah,
that bottle of booze would have been drunk in like the first day.
All the way downstairs to get to it.
I mean, Paranormal Activity was a movie that even though I don't like it, I think it was a waste of my time. But it definitely tapped into something because it's a movie where nothing happens except a couple of doors get slammed, right? and it's just like they use the same tactic as Robert Weiss did, which is like film something, but let it linger on that wall or door, or whatever, until it creates tension.
It focuses on creepiness instead of jump scares.
Yeah.
What do you think of the found footage idea, that whole fad that we had for a long time there?
I guess I did see Blair Witch. Did you see that one? Ryan?
I think that the Blair Witch Project, it should have ended with that one. Because, I mean, it seems like that was the whole gimmick of the movie, right? And so for them, I don't think that they meant for that to be a genre. I think that they meant to be like, this is what this movie is.
I only saw that once.
Nobody can ever second guess whether it's going to be a genre, really. Look at Hellraiser or anything. It's like they're lucky if they can make one movie that's successful.
Yeah,
I've only seen the first movie, and I only seen it once. I remember that it was the early days of the internet, so they started trying to make it go viral by creating the legend of the Blair Witch on the internet.
Did you follow any of that? Like, did you see that documentary, sort of that pseudo documentary that they made, to help promote the Blair Witch?
Yeah, and
I don't think I did.
In a village where the kids already thought that movies were real. And so they saw the Blair Witch Project, and the internet's telling them that that stuff was real, and so it was impossible to convince them that wasn't, that didn't happen, and that those were actors.
Oh, here comes the psychic activity again. Like, it sounds like the house is like being pummeled.
Yeah, the sound effects are very good.
Yeah. It was 93, so I think it was 93 or something the movie came out.
Blair Witch? It was 99.
99? Okay. So I didn't get to... I was already on the internet since like 94,
you didn't
95.
Experience it the way that they intended, the way it was like a viral campaign.
The virality of it didn't make it to me, so I just heard about it when I saw the movie, and then after that I got into the internet and found out more stuff about how they marketed it. And it was
filmed in the 4:3 aspect ratio, so it was filmed on on VHS
camcorder.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the door pulsating. Oh my God,
that is so cool.
That is what I remember.
Yeah, it's
from watching this movie on TV.
Inexpensive effect, but very effective.
Yeah, it's really good.
And then they do a comic relief with the nephew saying, "Doctor, I'll sell you this house cheap."
Yeah.
I bet you this was like vacuum formed plastic or something like that.
Or
and they
latex. Could have been
or
rubber.
latex. Yeah, it looks like wood. It looks solid.
You can make latex look like anything. You can make it look like
creaking
metal.
sound. The creaking sound makes it.
That
so believable.
Yeah,
that's ADR. And the ceiling.
Yeah, there are things like this movie, of course, comes before The Exorcist. And so there are things like that sort of thing in The Exorcist that really work, like the crack in the ceiling and stuff, the little plaster dust falling down, when Reagan like slams the dresser and the bed across the room and stuff.
Yeah. I think one of the specific things that works in this movie is what you said about that there's a lot of ceilings on the sets, and also there's a lot of like underlighting as well. So that's why they, instead of lighting it from above, some of these shots are shot from lit from the side or from below.
Yeah, what they do,
which I think also kind of gives it an interesting.
Whatever the light source in the room is, like if there's a lamp or candle or whatever in the room, that's where they suggest the light source is coming from.
Oh, this shot of her
through the house now.
Running through the house, dressed in white in a white gown.
And the husband the doctor wanted to go out first, but somehow she managed to get to the nursery before anybody else. There, she's scared of herself in the mirror again.
Oh, we got the fisheye lens now. She runs. Oh, it wasn't a fisheye lens. It was a mirror. Oh, that's a great shot.
A reflection.
Great use of reflection in this movie.
And this tilting the camera and making house creaking sounds. Totally used later in Evil Dead.
What they call Dutch angles.
And they're changing the aspect ratio, too. They're kind of stretching the image horizontally a bit.
Yeah.
Which, from what I understand, Ed, I don't know if this is correct, but didn't they used to do that with like a vinyl mirror kind of surface, and they would project onto it?
They would use
Mylar.
Mylar. Which is, basically mirror plastic, which is flexible.
Yeah, flexible. Because they didn't have CGI to like alter the shot image, the film, so they had to like distort it in other ways.
Yeah, there were so many ways to do it. Like even movies like Altered States and stuff with many different techniques. Time lapse and superimposition, double exposure. All that stuff.
All this activity is coming from the nursery room where the doctor's wife is.
Or isn't.
Or isn't.
Yeah.
Or not.
This is a turning point in the movie where you start to get this weird feeling that the doctor doesn't really care that much about what happened to his wife.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like from the beginning when she first arrives, he's not glad to see her. He doesn't really, act like a guy who's madly in love with his wife.
Get a feeling she's also an academic, and it's almost like a Richard Burton, Elizabeth, relationship. And Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf or whatever? No.
Yes, where they're very caustic to each other.
Yeah.
Alcoholic.
They're so intellectual to each other that, it takes away any kindness. Yeah.
But this guy, it seems like, I don't know what it is. Like, in other words, his wife is so headstrong that she wants to go sleep in the creepy room, and he doesn't go sleep with her.
He doesn't go sleep with her.
She insisted.
When I was watching this last night, I thought, oh, well, he'll stay with her, but then he doesn't.
I mean, any man who's married, if you're not in love, you're not going to go spend the night with her. But if you're in love with her, you'll go be in that room with her just in case a ghost comes out or something. Your wife would never forgive you if you
and then he didn't even sleep on the same floor. He makes the stupid nephew do it. You can't rely on him. Yeah.
Well, she's just downplaying his research, and she's like almost saying that it is embarrassing what he's doing.
Yeah.
So he does insist on trying to spend the night with her. He says, I'm not going to let you spend the night here alone. And then she actually, he walks out of the bedroom. She closes the door and says, don't worry, I got a ghost trap here.
Yeah, it's like, that's good enough for me. I'm going downstairs.
What did she mean by I got a ghost trap?
I'm not sure.
She's just being sarcastic.
I fell asleep like halfway watching this last night, so now I'm...
Nina says she was just kidding.
Yeah. But it is funny because Ghostbusters was years and years away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Ghost Trap.
It would be funny to do a fan edit and cut in a picture of the Ghostbusters Ghost Trap.
Eleanor has totally lost it now. She's just dancing in the greenhouse.
Oh, yeah, spinning and twirling with her white nightie.
Yeah.
She's lost it. She's gone bye-byes.
There are some great elements of this in the TV series.
She's literally chewing the furniture.
Oh, yeah. I wish I could have seen it. I mean, I did hear a lot of good things about it, the streaming TV series.
And it was more about the family that grew up there, and then they all went their separate ways, but they had to come back, and the house sort of takes control of them. And it's really interesting. It's a neat series.
How long was it?
Oh, like 10 episodes maybe? Jose, do you remember?
Just one season?
Sure. The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix. Let's see. I think it was like 10 episodes or something, 10 or 12.
Yeah.
So just one
There's
season.
there's like a big family moves into the house, and then the little girl keeps seeing the bent neck lady, which is a ghost of like a woman with her neck broken because she hung herself, and
So that's from the book and from the movie here.
They're kind of fixing the house.
Second wife.
And then you find out later that there's a whole lot of stuff going on in that house that, as an audience, we're seeing, but we didn't realize that it was actually paranormal activity. There's a funeral scene. It's really good.
And by the time you get to the end, you start putting all the pieces together in this really kind of neat way.
Yeah, I liked it. They made a second season for it with different characters, but I haven't seen that. Yeah.
A totally different set of people move into the house? Or
I think so. I haven't seen it, but this came out in 2018.
Wow. Okay.
And
I do recommend it. It's really good.
Wasn't I don't remember if I saw that or not.
Mm-hmm.
I know I saw the first season, which was really good, and it wrapped itself up really well.
Yeah. Like these siblings grew up in that house, and they all became kind of broken people.
Was that Netflix? I thought it was Amazon Prime.
It's Netflix. Yeah, it's 10 episodes, and it's from Netflix.
Okay.
I think you were asking about Twin Peaks earlier. That's from Showtime, the season 3, and it's available on Hulu.
Blu-ray.
Hulu.
And Blu-ray.
Okay.
And Blu-ray, too. Yeah, you don't have to subscribe to Hulu.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're going to end up subscribing to Hulu here in the
when
near
the
future.
Hellraiser.
Yeah,
when the Hellraiser.
Yes. Yeah. This is the scene that I remember as a kid from watching this movie in late night TV with my parents.
It's so long, right? This is like a good 5 minutes of her walking up the spiral staircase.
Yeah. It's just the tension on this. It scarred into my mind the spiral staircase. Probably the first time I ever saw a spiral staircase like this.
It's so rickety.
And nowadays people would say, like, that's not enough to make a scary scene, a woman walking up the stairs, But,
if you know how rickety it is and it could break at any minute,
Yeah, but I think that this kind of stuff is lost.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, today's young people, they don't care about.
It's like you need to throw maybe have some bats flying at her and gotta punch it up a little more.
Some flying demons.
Yeah,
I think the tension in this scene is actually created through the director, the directing, the way that the movie is shot. Right? I mean, because she's walking, and then all of a sudden it cuts to like a warped sideways of her feet walking up the staircase and following them, but you don't know which way is up or not. It's disorienting, and it's really the language of cinema conveying this to us. It's not like just CGI, CGI things just scaring us.
This is the kind of thing that's like Psycho's shower scene, very carefully thought out and storyboarded and shot, and the spiral staircase prop, metal prop there with the wire and everything. I mean, I would see how much of this the real actress did, and where, did she get a professional stunt double to do this in reality, because this could be dangerous, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they were in control, like Ryan said, with that cable that would make the spiral staircase go taut or wobbly.
I think that was Nina said that.
Oh yeah, Nina, right.
But the point I'm trying to make is that even though, they think they've got it under control, sometimes they get a stunt woman to do everything except for where you see it's actually her face.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible there was a stand-in, but so far I'm seeing it looks like her.
At the beginning, they used stunt women for the one who goes up the stairs and then hangs herself. That was 2 or 3 different women.
Oh, okay. Where'd you get that?
Yeah, the one that goes up the stairs with the rope on a plate is not the same one whose feet you see later.
Oh.
That was 2 different women.
What about
there's also a stairway spiral case. Stairway in the Netflix show.
Yeah, I just looked up the Netflix show. There's only 1 season of it.
Oh, I thought there was a 2nd season.
I was looking it up because I'm like, how did I miss the 2nd season? I don't. So
you didn't.
Yeah,
you didn't.
This is crazy.
She's because it's
backwards over the rail there for the up at the top of the balcony.
Ryan, the reason why you couldn't find it was because it's the 2nd season, but they changed the name to The Haunting of Bly Manor. That's the 2nd season of Hill House. Yeah.
Oh.
The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Yeah. The Haunting of Hill House season 2 is called The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Why'd they do that?
Well, I guess it's a different house.
Well, maybe it's also because of Shirley Jackson's estate or something, like they're trying to avoid having to pay royalties, perhaps.
Like Ryan said, I think the first one was completely wrapped up. So I think they're going about another family.
Oh, maybe it's like American Horror Story, where they're, just creating another show.
I want to know what's on. Oh, there she is. There's the wife, scientist wife.
Oh my gosh, yeah, there it is. Thank you.
I also remember this scene.
I'm going to add that on my list.
Sure, yeah.
Although Netflix says it's only a 57% match. So maybe Netflix thinks I'm not going to like it that much.
Oh, I see. I wonder what Rotten Tomatoes thinks.
I don't know. Is Netflix stuff on Rotten Tomatoes?
I think it depends on reviews, like if people review something. But
everybody's getting ready to leave the house, even though Eleanor says, I just saw your wife on that trapdoor where you were standing like 10 feet away from. And he's like, no, I don't know what you saw, but let's get out of here. It's like, where's your wife, dude?
Yeah. I'm going to drive you home. Wait a minute. You're forgetting something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't think they have the greatest marriage.
No.
And his wife's face was like dirty and her hair messed up, and she's like bug-eyed, like, save me. And then the trapdoor closes again.
So she's up in the attic.
This lady that just tried to kill herself, he's going to let her go drive off in a car by herself.
Right.
He's kind of ineffectual as far as like trying to protect her and take care of her.
He could get, arrested for manslaughter for being so negligent.
Yeah.
He's a PhD, but these people are supposedly under his care, under his guidance.
Yeah, and all he ever does is talk about sending her home, but he never actually does it.
Well, she doesn't want to go home. She's not going to go home.
I don't know how she thought this thing was going to end up.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, she really didn't know he was married. She was shocked when the wife showed up.
Yeah.
She thought they were going to get together, I think.
Well, and that's the other thing about Theo is Theo probably obviously knew that because she's psychic and didn't tell her. She just is enjoying the show.
Right.
Eleanor is going to start going on a rant about squatters' rights anytime soon.
Yeah.
Like, I want to stay in this house. It's like, it's not your house.
Yeah.
There's innkeepers, and you're not paying rent.
Yeah, but she'll be dead. She'll be a ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the house was like, hey, I found the human that just fits me right.
Yeah. She reminds me of that negligent caretaker lady.
Well, yeah, I guess.
She also didn't, she just ignored the calls of the old elderly person and let her die.
Yeah, but it's because she was just tired,
Yeah.
11 years. 11.
Yeah, but it's the same, but her guilt, her feelings, guilty feelings make her the same.
Yeah.
Cray. Yeah, she's cray because of it.
There's a lot of people out there who take care of invalid family members, and at some point you can just
lose it.
I've had people saying to me, like, I just wish that they would die. And it's like, not because they're bad people. It's just because they've had enough.
They're suffering. They think they're suffering, and they want them to end their suffering.
Oh, I didn't realize that the nephew got in the car with her. So now I want to see how this car crash goes, because I don't remember him being in the car with her.
No, he gets out to get the key.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So she drives off without him.
Right.
Okay.
Eleanor is almost jealous of the fact that the doctor's wife has been consumed by the house. It's like, well, she gets to keep this place. It's not fair.
That could have been me getting eaten up by the house.
Yeah, I'm not going to give up on it.
Not to cram Clive Barker into everything, but it's like The Thief of Always.
Just thinking that exact same thing, yeah.
The Thief of Always is basically about a house, Mr. Hood.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a house that offers all this gaudy entertainment and all these like fancy things, but it sucks away the years of your life and eventually sucks away at your soul.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many similar tropes and so many stories. Like, look at, like, even Pinocchio, you know, like when he goes, you know, and gets turned into a donkey, you know, goes to the island where, you know, all the boys can have fun and games and everything, but they pay the price. You know, they get turned into donkeys. And
in Imagica, the dimension of God is just a big city, and God shows up made out of parts of the houses. So it kind of makes me wonder, like, I wish I could just walk into Clive's living room and say, hey, Clive, were you thinking about this when you wrote that?
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of through lines through all of his stories.
Like one time when Clive was still on Twitter, I asked him if he had named the character of Mamulian in his first novel on this theater director called Ruben Mamulian, and he said, "Oh yeah, you got it." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." And now I was just the other day looking at a YouTube upload. Oh, there she is! Boom. A YouTube upload of Metropolis the musical from like 1989 from BBC, and Graham Bickley was in it. And Graham Bickley was the guy who was in the Dog Company, and I asked Pete Atkins, "Is this the same Graham Bickley?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's the same guy." You know, and I looked at the name of the director of this Metropolis musical. His name is Savary. So I'm wondering how much of that goes into the name of the villain in Transmutations.
Yeah, definitely.
Savary, Dr. Savary. And this guy was called Roger Savary. He was West End theater director. And I'm wondering, another one of those things. I want to grab Clive Barker and say, hey, were you thinking about this guy when you named this character?
Well, you know, he's just going to say yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like Pete. Oh, he names all these characters like in Bloodline.
Yeah, Ronson instead of Gillette.
The names of the Dog Company.
Yeah.
These people that are in the Dog Company. Although, you know, there's one character that is in Bloodline named Carducci that gets cut in half, I believe, by the Mirror. You know, and Carducci was Mark Carducci, his friend who wrote Pumpkinhead.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yep.
Well, and the Pumpkinhead design is kind of loosely based on Rawhead Rex too.
You think so?
Oh yeah, I read it somewhere.
Oh, I never heard that.
They really wanted to make a Rawhead Rex movie, but that had already been done. So it's like they wrote a story around the design of that creature.
So unfortunately, Eleanor has died in a mysterious car crash where her car became self-aware and didn't want her to leave the property, I guess. And then all of a sudden, the scientist's wife runs in front of the car, and to switch places with her, Eleanor crashed the car against a tree, and she died.
Do you remember the Croft Superstars one with the dune buggy that would come alive?
Oh yeah.
What was that one called? I forgot.
The dune buggy was animated, right? It was like a Saturday morning.
Though they found him in a junkyard, and it looked like this old Jeep.
Was it live action?
Yeah, it was live action, but there was also an animated version of the same thing, and it would turn into this fancy-looking, like...
car.
Yeah.
Are we talking Saturday morning cartoons?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Ruby Spears production.
I'm not sure. About
yeah,
that.
I found my favorite of those shows was Land of the Lost because it had dinosaurs, but there was also that one with the car that would come to life, and
I loved all those H&R Puffin stuff. And, the Witchy Poo, and
I like that at the end of this movie, the nephew says, "This house should be burned down, and the lands should be salted."
Yeah, so he actually learned something, and he stopped trying to exploit the hill house that is going to be his.
I don't believe it, though. I believe that after about a year after now, he'll just sell it. He's not going to burn it down.
Yeah, I'm sure
it'll become a white elephant on the real estate market.
Yeah, do they have to really declare?
Gardens.
Do you really have to declare when there's been deaths and stuff, Ryan?
It's state law, so it depends on the state you're in. I mean, in Alaska, it's murder or suicide that's occurred within the last 3 years. So then you're in this moral dilemma. Well, what if it was 4 years ago? Do you want them to find out from you, or do you want them to find out from the neighbors? And then
or what about?
Well, why didn't you tell me?
Or what about in the case of this house where it's like it's a tree out front that killed her, crashed into?
Well, yeah, that's not a murder-suicide. Or, well, I mean, it's maybe
Well,
suicide.
It could be.
Yeah.
She might have drove right into the tree.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, the movie
it would
just
have been classified
ended.
as an accident.
It was a mechanical failure. Her steering wheel and her brakes just didn't work.
Yeah, they would classify that as probably an accident. I think it's Martin Scorsese considers this movie one of his top 10 horror movies. Yeah, favorites. Yeah.
Well, I mean, out of all the ghost movies that I could think of, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about Sixth Sense. I was thinking about The Others. I was thinking about The Entity. Mm-hmm. It's like I just was, a lightning round. Got any other titles you can think of? Evil Dead. Yes, that's a good one. Join us.
Like in terms of spirits. In terms of ghost movies, I mean, what else? There's The Conjuring, which is a more recent movie. The Conjuring,
and like Annabelle, and those more recent ones.
Annabelle I don't like that one, but
no.
But sure, there's a lot of stuff. Like if we go for like more old, it depends on what you're considering. Like if you want more older ghost movies or more recent ones, because there's some really good ones. I mean,
well, all I care about was when I was young and coming up and stuff was if it was actually scary.
Yeah, I mean The Fog, for example, it's
that's a good one.
You can consider that ghosts because the pirate ghosts are arriving with the fog
100%.
Yeah, there's a radio station, which it's really I like that one a lot, especially creepy, the end.
Spooky.
Yeah.
You know what else is kind of a good spooky, creepy one is Prince of Darkness with that vat of evil, down in the basement of the church or whatever, and all the creepy homeless people and stuff start coming around. Alice Cooper starts coming around the outside of the church and stuff.
Donald Pleasance.
He's a
great movie.
He plays a priest.
There's a more recent one called The Orphanage, which is about this.
That's Guillermo del Toro's people, isn't it? Is that the one I'm thinking of?
I don't know if it's produced by him or not. I know he didn't direct it and he didn't write it either, so I don't know if it's really connected to him. But it's about the woman that brings her family back to her childhood home, which used to be an orphanage for handicapped children, and then her son starts communicating with an invisible new friend, and of course you're going to find out that orphanage is haunted and all that stuff. So it was a really good, well-made movie. I really enjoy that one. I mean, there's 13 Ghosts. I mean,
we were talking about what's his name, William Castle, and the Tingler and stuff. And so he did a couple of good ones with ghosts, like 13 Ghosts and House on Haunted Hill. Even if it's gaslighting someone, to make them think there's a ghost. I classify those as ghost movies too.
Yeah, and the more like stylistic one is Carnival of Souls, which is another black and white movie.
Oh, sure.
Which has an interesting
very
twist.
Haunting,
like this woman, this woman gets into a car accident, and then she gets into these weird haunted adventures, and then at the end you find out.
She goes off a bridge or something.
And don't forget about Ghost Dad. Isn't that with Bill Cosby?
There's one called My Ghost Dog, I think, which is about this dog that dies and comes back as a ghost.
Oh, man.
Terrible.
Alice Cooper has a song called That Was the Day My Dead Pet Returned to Save My Life.
Oh, there's this one I saw with Alice Cooper where they were like a band.
Dog. Yeah.
They were like a band that moves into like this house to record a record or something.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, is that good? Is that Monster Dog?
Monster Dog. Yep. It was only supposed to be released in the Philippines, but he didn't anticipate there would be a video market, and all of a sudden it's all available all over the world.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one.
Didn't expect it to get ever to be shown here.
Right. Yeah. He just did that as as kind of a thing. He didn't to
make a little couple bucks.
Like when American actors make commercials in Japan.
In Japan, right. Big shot actors.
Yeah.
And there's one called The Innocents, which is based on the Turn of the Screw by James. Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good ghost one.
The Innocents.
And the Others.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking just ghosts, not horror in general. So that's that's
horror.
There's Casper the Friendly Ghost.
It's not a bad movie. It's a kids movie, but it's okay. I saw it.
For kids.
I used to read the comic books. Little Hot Stuff and Casper and Richie Rich.
Yeah.
They made a movie of that too, Richie Rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Macaulay Culkin.
I guess remember on The Simpsons when Bart was taking the superimposing the Richie Rich over Casper the Friendly Ghost and said, "Look, it's the same person. He just died."
Yeah.
It could be too.
It's Little Stuff when he goes to hell. Hot Stuff.
Oh man.
Little Hot Stuff demon.
Little red demon guy.
Yeah.
With a diaper or something.
Yeah, but I should read the Shirley Jackson book. I really should. I read The Lottery, and I don't think I've ever had. I never owned a copy of The Haunting of Hill House. But,
I haven't read it either. I only read about it in the A to Z of horror, but.
I believe there's an audio book because I remember somebody was reading it, I believe, on a YouTube channel.
Oh.
That I discovered, a year or 3 ago or whatever.
I'll have to add it on my Audible stuff.
Found it on YouTube. It's like 6 hours long. Yep.
Is it Edward French reading it?
No, it doesn't say who it is. I think this is just some commercial version that someone just uploaded to YouTube.
Okay.
But yeah. Oh, are you talking about the guy who also did Varney the Vampire?
Yes.
Oh, I'll have to check his channel after this and see if he did that.
Yeah, I really like his stuff. He's actually, I know him personally. He's a makeup artist. He's an Emmy award-winning makeup artist.
Sure. Yeah, I've listened to his Varney the Vampire. It was really cool.
Yeah, he used to sell DVDs and videotapes like on how to make bald caps and how to do various special effects makeup things.
So this was The Haunting of Hill House, episode S for Sorceress, and we saw The Haunting by Robert Weiss.
Yep, and coming next, we don't know yet because our Kickstarter is not over. So there's a link in the show notes to the Kickstarter. Head over there. As this is aired, there's probably only going to be like a week left of the Kickstarter. So go check it out and see what you can do to help us out.
And thank you everyone for having. Thank you so much, everyone.
For all your support.
Yeah, so many nice people have done so many awesome donations and. Thanks, everybody.
Yep, and when it's over, we have a whole episode dedicated to thanking everyone individually that helped out
on the podcast, on the blog, and on social media. So, yeah, there's still a lot of posters. There's still paperbacks available. There's still the Torture, Paul Kane's The Torture download codes available.
Well, this is going to be a week later, so you can't promise that.
Yeah, that's true. As we're recording this. So,
You can always donate a couple of bucks just to be nice.
Yeah.
All right.
And people have.
Yeah, and thank you so much for doing that. And let's keep doing this another year. 10th anniversary, Kickstarter 9 celebrations.
Yeah. And this podcast having no beginning will have no end. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you have subscribed. You can find the Clive Barker Podcast wherever you find audio. Show notes for this episode, as well as news and reviews, can be found at our website at www.clivebarkercast.com. The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial podcast and blog that is not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Inc. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans. Watch for our annual Kickstarter fundraisers to get some cool stuff, and you can buy t-shirts on our TeePublic store. Go to tpublic.com and search for BarkerCast.
Thanks for listening.